Steve Jobs didn't invent the smartphone. He didn't invent the computer. He didn't invent the MP3 player. And yet, he helped change how billions of people use technology. Because Jobs understood something most technology companies didn't. People don't fall in love with technology. They fall in love with what technology allows them to do. And that idea would completely change the world. Go back to the early days of personal computers. Computers were powerful, but for most ordinary people, they were intimidating. They had complicated commands. They looked more like machines designed for engineers than something you'd casually use at home. Then came Apple. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak helped build the Apple II, one of the early successful mass-market personal computers. But Jobs wasn't satisfied with simply making computers powerful. He wanted them to feel accessible. That obsession became even more important with the Macintosh. When Apple introduced the Macintosh in 1984, it wasn't the first computer to use ideas like graphical interfaces or a mouse, but Apple packaged those ideas into a product that made interacting with a computer feel dramatically more approachable. Instead of typing everything into a command line, you could point, click, drag, open, close. For millions of people, technology suddenly felt less like programming and more like using a tool. And that was one of Jobs' greatest strengths. He wasn't just asking, what can this technology do? He was asking, how should this technology feel? But Jobs' story wasn't a straight line to success. In 1985, he left Apple after a power struggle with the company's leadership. Imagine that. You helped build the company and then you're suddenly outside of it. Most people would probably walk away. Jobs didn't. He started another computer company called NXT. And while NXT struggled to become a major consumer computer business, something incredibly important happened. Its technology eventually became part of Apple's future. Apple acquired NXT in 1996. And in 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. The company was struggling. Its product lineup was complicated. And Apple needed a reason for people to care again. Jobs had one answer: focus. One of the most important things Jobs did wasn't creating more products. It was getting rid of things. Apple had a huge number of projects. Jobs dramatically simplified the company's product strategy. The message was basically, stop trying to make everything. Make a few things and make them incredibly well. This sounds simple, but it's extremely difficult because saying yes feels productive. More features, more products, more options, more everything. But Jobs believed that great products required difficult choices. And that philosophy would soon produce one of Apple's most important products. In 1998, Apple introduced the iMac. And it looked completely different from the boring beige computers people were used to seeing. It was colorful, it was distinctive, it looked like something you actually wanted sitting in your room. But the important part wasn't simply the color. The iMac represented a bigger idea. Technology could have personality. A computer didn't have to look like office equipment. It could become part of your lifestyle.